Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1102, and today's date is October 16th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, as we've been looking and reporting on and sifting through all the data that has to do with economic indicators, political indicators, geopolitical indicators, we are seeing there are warnings everywhere, and the situation right now is coming to a flashpoint. And this flashpoint is going to lead us into this economic crisis. And we can see right now there's alerts from HSBC. They're issuing a red alert over an imminent sell-off of stocks. They're saying the U.S. stock market is artificially propped up by the Federal Reserve. And we see the IMF is issuing a stability warning over Deutsche Bank, saying that the largest investment bank is in the midst of a terrible crisis with its balance sheet overloaded with toxic debt that is big enough to topple several continents. We see the Bank of America warns that a recession is imminent and unavoidable, that big banks are being forced to admit that stimulus is no longer working and that the consequences are happening right now. And if we continue on with these trends, we're going to enter this collapse scenario. And if you remember, going back a year ago or so, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon warned that a volatile crisis is coming. He said the trigger to the next crisis will not be the same as the trigger to the last one, but there will be another crisis. Triggering events could be geopolitical, like we saw back in 1973 with the Middle East crisis, a recession where the Fed rapidly increased interest rates, 1980 to 1982 recession, a commodities price collapse. We see the commercial real estate crisis in the 90s, the Asian crisis in 1997, 2000, Internet bubble, 2008, mortgage housing bubble, and the next one is a complete collapse of the system. It's going to be a real estate, bond bubble, derivative bubble, stock market bubble. Every single bubble is going to burst at this time, and we can see we are definitely approaching this area. And we talked about how the central banks, the elite, the globalists, they're preparing for this entire system to crash and come crumbling down. They know it is. And on the other side of this collapse, which we've been talking about, they are preparing for what is about to come. And we just talked about how Obama wants to rein in the wild, wild west of the media, which he's really talking about is the internet. And we have to remember what George Washington said. If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. And remember, their entire agenda is to control the creation of money, to control the corporate media, to control the flow of information, to remove the rights of the people. And we can see right now, this is what they're about to do. Now, Obama is out there and he's talking about controlling what information is out there, what is fact, what is truth, and of course, whose guidelines is he going to use? If he uses the government guidelines, well, we see the government continually lies to us. And everything they've said in the past, which we've mentioned in Friday's report, they were lies. And if we go back in time, we can see lie after lie after lie. So they are not really the caretakers of truth. And we can see right now that the First Amendment says nothing about controlling alternative media, setting up a truth type of system like Google is trying to do, where they're trying to set up this fact-checking system. And of course, where are they checking the facts? Are they checking it with the government? Of course, that's what they're going to do. Because if you read the First Amendment, it says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. It doesn't say, oh, wait, if you want to speak freely, we have to check your work. Oh, if you like to say something, we need to make sure that it's fact. And what they're doing right now is the beginning stages of controlling speech. What they're really doing is they're going to permit what is allowed on the internet. And this is what they're trying to establish right now, because we know after this economic crisis, after the war, they want to do away with the rights of the people. They want to do away with the people having control of the internet. They want complete control of the populations, not just here in the United States, but throughout the world. And we can see right now that we are definitely approaching a time period where this entire economic system is coming down. The United States government central bankers, they've already announced they will be starting the war. And we can see right now they're preparing for what is about to come. We see the UK has sent fighter jets to Japan for a joint military drill. They're going to be sending the Typhoon aircraft out there, and they're going to be staying in Japan until November. Very important. And we see that Russia, they opened fire on a North Korean fisherman vessel out in the Sea of Japan. 1 dead, 9 injured. And during the search and control activities, the Russian border guards found illegally obtained water bioresources on board the vessel. The ship's crew behaved aggressively towards members of the search group, refusing to comply with legal requirements. And we see right now the United States most likely will turn this around and try to use this against Russia in some way, somehow. But we'll watch and we'll see what happens. We see out in Libya, the elected governments, they were trying to remove the UN-backed government. And we see right now that they've taken over some TV stations, pledging they are ready to fight to take power, and they don't want the unity government in their country. We also see out in Syria that talks, well, they have ended. And we see right now, after 40 minutes, U.S. and Russia came up with no solution whatsoever to what is happening in Syria. Because as we know, the United States government central bankers, they don't want a solution. They want Syria, then they want Iran. If they cannot have this, they will start a war. And we can see already that the situation in Syria is getting worse and worse because key northeastern Aleppo supply routes, they were cut off from the terrorist groups. And now the United States is having a very difficult time supplying these terrorists. And we see right now that if the United States government central bankers don't do something very, very quickly, they will lose Aleppo. And we can see the U.S. government central bankers, they're not going to let this happen. They're not going to just sit back and say, okay, we lost Aleppo, let's get out of Syria. We tried, it didn't work. We're not going to start a war. We're just going to let the system collapse. Because if they leave Syria, what's going to happen is the petrodollar system, it will collapse automatically. Because we can see right now that what's going on in the Middle East, they can't maintain control of all of these countries. We see in Libya, they're trying to throw out the unity-backed government because this is not a government they elected. We see in Yemen, the United States needs to go into Yemen to try to bring back the puppet government. And I've said this many, many reports ago, that they are losing control of the Middle East, and eventually what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to go back into each and every one of these countries, which right now, it looks like an impossibility. So what's left on the table here? Well, what's left is to start war. And this is where we're headed right now. The UN staff They arrived in Syria, in Aleppo, where they're saying we're ready to evacuate people and to escort al-Qaeda to safety outside of Aleppo. We'll have to see how that goes. We don't know. We see that Russia, well, they're sending their aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean. It's on its way. It might have to pass near England, maybe go through the Channel. And we see already England, the UK, they're saying, okay, we're not going to be surprised. Just in case Russia tries something, we're going to escort the ship through this area just in case. Well, first of all, Russia is not going to do anything. They're going to the Mediterranean. They have other warships there. They understand that the United States, they're planning their next move. This is why they set up the S-300, the S-400, the Pantsir system. This is why they brought in more military assets, because we're getting intelligence reports suggesting that the United States and Saudi Arabia, with the other coalition forces, they're going to use the Islamic State once again to try to turn the tables on Russia and Syria. Because what's happening in Mosul right now is the United States is creating cover for the Islamic State and allowing them to leave Mosul and to quickly move into Syria. And there's reports about 9,000 Islamic State fighters are now filtering into Syria to begin the battle within Syria in the Aleppo area. It looks like right now they're plotting a secret attack in Syria against Syria and Russia, and they're going to be using the Islamic State. Remember, the United States government central bankers, they can't bring the U.S. forces in there and attack Russia or Syria because they did it once. They said it was a mistake. They can't do it a second time. They need to use the terrorist groups until they don't work anymore. And right now, they need the Islamic State. Remember, they were beaten in Syria. The numbers are dwindling. They need a reinforcement. This is why the United States government central bankers decided to bring in all this military into Iraq to provide cover for the Islamic State, to allow them to filter into Syria. And we can see all of this is being built up right now because Obama, well, he is threatening Russia right now. He told the CIA to draft plans for a wide-ranging cyber operation to hit Russia. So the United States is using the propaganda that Russia cyber attacked the DNC, the election system, maybe Hillary's emails, whatever they're using. It doesn't matter because it's all propaganda. They have no proof. Even NBC was reporting about the cyber attacks by Russia, and they said allegedly. There is no proof. They have no proof. And they're going to start a war without having any proof whatsoever. And this is how wars are started. They're manufactured. And this is what the United States government central bankers are in the process of doing. They're manufacturing a war to convince everyone we all need to go to war. Now, when the United States government central bankers hit Russia through a cyber attack, it doesn't mean that Russia is going to respond. Russia did say they will react to the information regarding the possibility of a U.S. allegedly retaliatory cyber attack. But it doesn't mean that Putin, because we see his actions, it doesn't mean he's going to react and say, okay, let's bring down the infrastructure of the United States, because he understands if he does this, it will start World War III, which means there will be more cyber attacks. So when the United States hits Russia, most likely Russia is going to come out and say, we condemn the attacks. Maybe the United States brings down a nuclear reactor. Maybe it brings down a town or whatever they're going to do. They're not going to react quickly. They're not going to start war. Now, the United States is not going to like this. And what the United States is going to do is they're going to simulate that Russia attacked the United States. Now, remember, we've been talking about this for quite a while. Remember back in 2003 when they brought down the Eastern Power Grid? That was a test to see if they have the ability to do so. Well, that test worked out. They were able to bring down the power grid. So what they're going to do is they're going to create a false flag, and they're going to say that Russia actually brought down the power grid, the water system, hit a nuclear reactor. Whatever they're going to use, they're going to use it. Maybe hit the financial systems. And remember, back in January of 2016, there was a report that we did on the X-22 called "The U.S. Government Has an Internet Kill Switch, and it will be used during a national crisis." Now, we've been talking about this entire system coming down, where they're going to have to make it look like another country or group attacked the United States. The Internet Kill Switch will shut down pretty much everything. All internet business, the financial institutions, it'll bring everything to a screeching halt. Now, they can use this to say that Russia did this. Russia was responsible, and the entire system came down. Now, on Friday, we reported that Obama just signed an executive order that had to do with space weather, about solar disturbances, bringing down the grid. It's a very strange period of time to sign that executive order while this whole entire cyber war is about to begin. But we can see when this system comes down, people will need to be prepared for this, because when the power goes out, it's not going to be out for 2, 3, 4 days. It's going to be out most likely for weeks, maybe a month or longer, which will then affect water, will then affect gas, will then affect the supplies being brought to the stores. This is very serious. And we can see already the United States government central bankers, they are broadcasting that they are willing to start war, World War III, with Russia. So at this point right now, if you have not prepared, I would prepare. The most important things I think you need to do is get cash on hand, food, water, batteries, a weapon, gold. These are the things you need to do. Any type of toiletries, medical supplies, things like that. Because when this cyber war starts, remember, with a cyber war, they really don't have to have any type of proof. They're just going to point a finger, just like they already did. When there's no electric, when there's no gas, when there's no food, people are going to be scared. People are going to be running around in the streets. They will then vandalize. They will then break into homes. I told you this story with my brother-in-law who lived on Long Island when Hurricane Sandy hit. He was in his house. A lot of people left. He would hear people walking up and down the street, breaking windows, going into homes. This time, it's going to be worse. Now, in the beginning, most likely, people will be calm. But as 4, 5, 6, 7 days go by, people are going to get upset, nervous. They're going to be running out of food. They're going to be running out of supplies. The supermarkets will be running out of food and supplies. There will be no deliveries. And people are going to be scrambling. So we can see already everything that we've talked about throughout the couple of years, it's all coming to a head right now. And we see that everything that we've been saying is all coming true. Now, I truly wish that the economy would just crash, collapse, let those banks fail, let the whole system collapse, and the people can say, okay, we've had enough of the central bank, we had enough of the government, and let's restart everything. But we see that the U.S. government central bankers, they don't want that to happen. They don't want to be blamed for what is about to happen. This is why they're willing to start this war and have millions of people die. I mean, think about what Obama has just said. Biden has just said. We are going to start a cyber war with Russia because we have no proof that they actually did anything to the election system, to the DNC, to the emails for Hillary Clinton. But to cover all of this up, what is coming, the economic collapse, the collapse of the central banking system, the destruction of the petrodollar, we are willing to kill millions of people, start a war that might even go nuclear. And they're planning to do it. So everyone at this time needs to be prepared and ready. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.